Seconds to go. One last gasp for Edmonton. Bouchard's pass didn't click with Draisaitl. 12 seconds to go. Florida trying to end it up against the wall, which would be fitting. 3 seconds to go. The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup. For the first time in their 30-year history, the Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. They made it about as hard on themselves as they possibly could, battling a valiant Edmonton team that had rallied from adversity all season long. And Paul Maurice, coaching lifer, 30 years in the National Hockey League, has his Stanley Cup.
What the puck is going on?
Here's your host of What the Puck is Going On, Dave Metzger.
All right, everybody. Welcome back in Monday, March the 3rd. What the Puck is Going On. We got a 6-game slate this evening, so some interesting matchups to get to. Steve, sir, how are you this evening?
Hey, good evening, Dave. How are you? We're looking to get some exciting hockey, hopefully, this week after a weekend of maybe some lower scoring games. Not as much excitement, at least not as much excitement as we had the weekend coming off the break there. We'll see if we can get some more pucks than that this week. 3 shutouts yesterday, Dave.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of everything so far, it seems like, after the break. So some interesting stuff there. Before we get to the slate, let's get into the standings here. I think we've got some pretty interesting stuff going on. So we'll start in the East as usual. The Atlantic Division, you have the Toronto Maple Leafs in first place, 78 points for them, followed up by the Florida Panthers with 77. And then there's Tampa Bay, who is just red hot right now, winners of their last 8 games, I believe, with 74 points. So, Steve, there in the Atlantic, man, we've got a tight race going on where it wasn't always that way. What are your thoughts there with the top 3?
They're hot. I mean, they are on fire. Toronto has won 5 in a row. Florida's won 3 in a row. Tampa Bay has won 8 in a row. And while you might not be making up ground in at least your division, and you'll get to it in a second with the Metro and the Capitals now stumbling after a red-hot weekend last weekend, now losing 3 in a row. The gap is closed here in the Eastern Conference. And the Caps have work to do to put the final nails in here to not only keep a number 1 seed, but maybe even at this rate, keep home ice advantage for the first round of the playoffs. They can't stumble too bad down the stretch here, Dave, or they could get passed by these teams who've been playing really, really well.
Yeah, Steven, and stumbling is exactly what they've been doing. We'll jump into the Metro here. Top 3 teams. Washington still holding that spot with 84 points, but as Steve mentioned, loses a 3 in a row. That's a decent little stretch of games to not pick up any points. So there's Carolina. They've closed the gap just a little bit, 74 points. So still 10 points out, but the gap has narrowed just a little bit. New Jersey was 72 points. So they're trying to keep pace with Carolina, at least. They're right there with them. Your wild card here, your two wild card teams at the moment are going to be Columbus with 68 and Detroit with 66. So that was a big win for Columbus the other day in the Stadium Series outdoor game at the Shoe in Ohio. Pretty entertaining stuff there. I was able to watch some of that. Always cool to see the outdoor games. But Steve, Ottawa with 64. Yep. The Rangers with 64. Boston with 64. Montreal with 63. And Philly even with 62. The Islanders hanging on with 61. I mean, you look at all this jumbled up here in an extremely tight wild card race here. So, Steve, you talked about the Capitals. What else in the Metro? And how about this wild card race here in the East? It is really tightened up.
I don't know if you can count anybody out. I don't even know if you can count Pittsburgh and Buffalo out at this point as much as we want to. Just when you think you want to leave these teams for dead, you have a team like Buffalo now who's won 6 games out of their last 10, although the last couple of games haven't gone so well for them. The Metro, again, the Capitals got that 10-point clearance over Carolina. Probably lucky they have that have them in this division rather than having to deal with Toronto or Florida or even Tampa Bay, as hot as they've been. Tampa winning 8 in a row. 9-0-1 for Tampa Bay now. So they are extremely hot. But the Capitals have to get it right, and it starts just here in about 5 or 6 minutes, Dave. I mean, this is a huge game with playoff implications. I'm sure you're going to get to it real quick here in a minute. But the Capitals and Senators dropped the puck here in about 6 minutes in D.C., and for both teams, this means the world right now, this game. We have about 20 games left, 22, depends who you are. Teams like the Sabres have 24. Teams like the Bruins only have 20. But the Capitals, 22 games left. Ottawa, 23 games left. We are turning the last quarter pole here and heading down the home stretch. And we will have playoff hockey before you know it. As we are in the March, we'll get it into April, and by the time May flips around, we'll be underway for sure. So no time like the present to get yourself right. And just hopefully for the Capitals, they didn't peak too early in the season here. And now we're going to start to see them kind of falling apart. Ovechkin's really been the one-man crew here. He's still scoring his goals, but he cannot get any support here just in the last 3 games. Every team's going to have the ebbs and flows and the slumps. But it's got to start tonight, really, to get that off that schneid and give the Senators a loss. A good, tough opponent. They will grind you down, Ottawa. So this will not be an easy one. That seems to be the problem with the Capitals here, Dave. They're playing some of these teams just that seem to be a little better defensively, like Ottawa, teams like a Calgary, teams like a St. Louis who will try to grind you and wear you down. And the Capitals haven't held up to that kind of hockey, which is troubling considering that's the kind of hockey you're going to have to beat come playoff time. They're going to have to get down and dirty themselves here and figure out a way to win these lower scoring games.
Yeah, Steve. I mean, for them, it's as simple as I think matching the intensity. You looked at the 3 teams that they've just lost to in a row, and all of them are either in the playoffs with the Lightning or, fighting and desperate for a spot. So they're meeting these teams that are just, the more desperate team, and they're playing with more urgency. And it shows. So I think it's going to come down to the starts of these games for them. They need to come out hotter, and they know that, you need to match the intensity of these teams who are much, much more desperate than you trying to get these points. We've seen it. We've seen what they're capable of, but it just seems like they're not matching that intensity and style that they need to be matching So a tough one again for them tonight. We'll see what happens with that here in about 4 minutes. So show will be running into that, but we'll keep you updated with any scores should there be any. Let's jump in to the Western Conference here, Steve. We'll start with the Central top 3 right now. Winnipeg with 88, Dallas with 80, and Minnesota with 74. So we've got some decent separation in between the top 3 teams there, Steve. That's kind of what we've been talking about, I feel like. So probably no major surprises there, right?
Right. Let's see here. I'm trying to actually get on the right sports book for once. Let me get back to my standings here in the West. You're on the Central, Dave? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yep.
It's still the cream of the crop to me. It's Winnipeg and Dallas. And that the more I watch Dallas, the more I'm starting to really like them. They do not lose in a bad spot. When they're coming off a back-to-back, and this is something I meant to bring up, Dave, too. When they play in the back-to-back, they show up for that second game. And we're starting to see on these back-to-backs, take for St. Louis, for example, yesterday, and our Kings losing in Dallas on Friday and then getting blown out again in St. Louis on Saturday. St. Louis winning on Saturday and then getting blown out by Dallas on Sunday. We got to be wary of these teams on the back-to-backs now. You can get away with it here earlier in the season. We're to the point of the season where, everyone's physically tired. Everyone's hurting some. Playing these back-to-back games with a lot of fatigue is causing some anguish here. And we got to be aware of these teams as far as, and you people out there as well, as far as wagering on them, who's played the day before and who hasn't, because this is the time of the year where I think you want to fade the back-to-back teams. I don't think you necessarily want to take them, or even with their goal scorers. New Jersey yesterday, after winning in Utah on Saturday night with an impressive victory. And Utah has been playing decent too. But the Jersey gets a win in Utah, and then they go to Vegas, and they're flat on their faces last night, losing 2-0.
Yeah, Steve, that's definitely the trend towards the end of the year. Very well said there, and that's definitely something that needs to be kept an eye on here a little bit as we come down the stretch.
Dave, we should have been able to predict Minnesota 1, Boston nothing on a correct score yesterday.
Well, yeah. I did take the money line though, because again, I think they were plus money or at least close to it, and Boston had played the day before, kind of a tough win there. I believe it was against Pittsburgh. So I knew they were in for it with the Minnesota team that should beat them, because Boston, even though they're fighting for a wild card spot, just not the Boston team we're used to seeing. So I think it was a really good spot for Minnesota. But Steve, that 1-0, that would have paid out nice for sure. So we should definitely be on more of those. In the Pacific, you have Vegas leading with 78 points. Edmonton was 74, so they're pretty close behind. And LA holding the third spot, which seems to be what they've been doing all year long, with 70 points. Your wild card teams right now are Colorado with 72 and Calgary now with 65. They bumped Vancouver out. Vancouver also has 65. St. Louis making a pretty good push right now. I wouldn't count them out with 64. Utah was 63, and Anaheim just hanging on the cusp there with 59 points. If they could put a few games together, they'll be right there for a wild card spot, which is pretty surprising. It would be nice to see a team like them get in. I don't think they're going to have enough at the end of the day. But, Steve, that's the West. That's the wild card. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, a little more separation, but still pretty cluttered here at the bottom with this last spot anyway. Let's see here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so 65 is the point of safe being, or 66 would be the point of safety right now, and you have no one there. Calgary with the 65, as you said, Vancouver with the 65, and then a point separates the Blues and Utah. The Blues and Utah both seemingly kind of waking up here at the right time here, as Vancouver and Calgary both have slumped here in their last recent stand of 10 games. The Kings as well kind of falling apart a little bit on us, as we said, kind of maybe watch out for them to take a turn for the better. They just can't seem to find their offense on the road. They're in action tonight as well. Again, where I thought last week we started to have a lot of definitive teams in the East. I'm not so sure now, as that seems more clustered at this point. I think we still have that same definitive good amount of teams here in the West, separated from these teams that even if they make the playoffs, they're probably looking at an early bounce in the first round, just because I don't see a Calgary or a Vancouver or a St. Louis beating a Winnipeg or a Dallas when it gets down to it in the first round, or even really a Vegas for that matter, or Edmonton. It just won't happen. So I think the cream of the crop sits right there in the top four. Edmonton, I still have questions about them, even in their fourth place in this conference.
Yeah, I do as well.
I still have a lot of questions about them overall. I don't know if I can trust Vegas still. To me, it's Dallas and Winnipeg, and I'm not so sure Dallas isn't better.
Steve, I like Dallas. Winnipeg right now is, top team in the NHL. I get that. I completely understand, but I love Dallas in that spot coming into the playoffs. They're going to be one of the teams that I do quite a bit with come playoff time in their matchups. I just think they're very strong, very, very strong.
They're just a couple of years removed from a Stanley Cup final, correct? They didn't win it, but they did get to the final. But think about it. Think back to even COVID and pre-COVID. Dallas has been a beast. They've been good. I mean, this is the same Dallas team year in and year out that is consistently strong on offense, consistently strong on defense, and even better offensively, you could argue at this point. I mean, this may be their best offensive season that we've seen here in their recent run of years. It's hard to call them a dynasty per se, but as far as teams who've been consistently good in the NHL, I don't know if you can name one better. Maybe Tampa Bay with their long run, because they've hoisted a bunch of cups. Florida's been decent for sure, but they've had a year or two where they've been down. Toronto, I still don't think is on that level of the Stars. But Dallas, as far as teams in all sports, not just in the NHL, but as all sports, I mean, this is a well-run franchise and a very oiled machine right here at this point of the NHL season. And I don't expect that to change at all. I mean, they're going to be a tough out come playoff time. If you wanted to grab futures on Dallas in any sort of way, Stanley Cup or conference, I can't argue that.
No, I think that would be a good pick, Steve. It's going to be interesting. I think they're primed for a deep run. So, we'll see who can take them down, if anybody out west come here in just about a month or so. But yeah, I'm on the Dallas train. We'll see who can challenge them.
Before we get real quick and too deep into the games, Dave, let me go through the injuries because we haven't done that in a minute. Anaheim is one of the more healthy teams. Now we're starting to see issues with Boston. Obviously, McAvoy got hurt in the round robin there and the off break. But Brad Marchand's even day-to-day at this point. So a couple of key players for Boston are hurt, and that's a team reeling at this point. Jason Zucker for Buffalo is the only one hurt. Calgary, just a pair of injuries. Carolina, they get Frederick Anderson finally back. So that's the best news for them. Carrier is the main injury for them at this point. Chicago, just a handful. Colorado now is healthy. Landeskog, if they can get him back in April, that will help their playoff push. Columbus has a few injuries to mention, but how good have they been? We haven't even talked about them. We'll get more to them when we look at the futures here. Tyler Seguin out for Dallas here for about the next month. Miro Heiskanen is another key injury for them. Nils Lundqvist gone for the year for them, but they don't miss a beat either way. Detroit, a couple injuries with Kopp and Rasmussen. Edmonton, trio of injuries. They'll get Evander Kane back sometime, maybe even this month. Matthew Tkachuk, he's going to be out now until mid-April for Florida, but he's really the lone injury there. Minnesota, Kaprizov, they hope to get him back this week. Montreal, Kirby Dach, done for the season. So that's a key loss for them. Nashville's banged up at this point. Roman Yossi, Jankowski, hurt. Let's see. New Jersey, Jack Hughes. How about that? We don't know about Hughes' injury.
Yeah.
As he gets hurt here over the weekend. The Islanders, you got to give them credit too. But now Barzell's hurt again. Mike Riley hurt. Hopefully they can maybe hold it together for their push. The Rangers, if they don't have injuries, they're trading people. Riley Smith, Kreider, both out right now for the immediate future. Ottawa, just a pair of injuries. Philly, just a pair of injuries. Pittsburgh's in good shape. San Jose isn't the worst. 4 players there. Yanni Gord is the main one for the Kraken. Torrey Krug gone for the season for the Blues. Toronto, Max Pacioretty, Steven Lorentz, amongst their injuries. Utah is healthy. Vancouver has a trio of injuries. Thatcher Demko, he's hurt again. Vegas, missing players like William Karlsson, Shea Theodore. They'll get them back sometime later on this month. And the Capitals, if they get Sonny Milano back, that should be a boost for them. We'll know more about that here in about a week or so when he may be available. Honestly, Dave, at this point of the season, as much as people are banged up and hurt and bruised, the injury reports not reflecting at least mass quantities of injuries overall.
Right, yeah. It's mostly guys here and there. Tkachuk for Florida, he'll be back for the playoffs. Probably a pretty decent move I saw from them today. They're going to put him on the long-term IR. But, a team that feels without him, they're still in a good enough spot to make the playoffs. So now they have that cap space as well, Steve. They can go and get somebody at the trade deadline, which I believe is Friday. And that's, when Tkachuk gets back with them for the playoffs, the salary cap doesn't matter at that point. So you got to think that's a pretty good move there from staff. So we'll see what they end up doing with that. But, yeah, Steve, injuries, it's just the time of year. But luckily nobody is, extremely banged up in that regard. So let's get to the slate here. We got one game underway. We'll start there. Live line action here. Capitals and the Senators. That one is in D.C. Caps again on a 3-game losing streak. All at home, too, which is concerning. Steve, and just like that, we have a Connor McMichael score. Caps are up 1-0. That update is just chimed in.
Yeah, so, of course, I'm doing this show trying to put my play-ins with my Capitals money line, and of course, I don't get it in on time.
Let's see here. The goalie matchup, and they're not going to give it to me right now. I could probably look at ESPN. Steve, do you have any goalies, or is it doing the same for you?
Let's see here. They have me locked out at the moment. So I'm not. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Do I got goalies in here? Let's see. Do I have any saves? I see Logan Thomas and Linus Ullmark listed here.
Oh, okay. So that's a pretty decent matchup there. Good on the Caps getting a early first goal there. So Steve, I tell you
that's
what,
exactly what they needed to, Dave. I mean, they needed to come out and score right away.
I mean, you're talking the game's not even 5 minutes old, and they're getting on the board at home. That's going to be a boost just playing, with the lead. So Steve, I did a couple things here. I did play some Senators stuff. So just in case, my boys don't get it done tonight, I did take a Senators money line and a Senators puck line play as well. So hopefully that doesn't work out for me, but the numbers were nice just in case the Caps continue to slide. The over-under is locked out. I believe it was at 5.5 at the moment. So, Steve, what are we thinking here? Caps are on the board quickly. I do have some team total stuff going with the Caps, and I took a puck line play because sooner or later, one of these teams is going to get a pissed-off Capitals team, and they're going to show you what they can really do. Which team is it going to be? Is it going to be the Senators tonight? We'll see. But what are your thoughts here? I think there's plenty of plays.
I was going to take the 3.5 over. I was going to take the money line. Obviously, I'm too late on all of that, so I'll have to wait for the new lines to come back out here. You might see some lines out, but I still have a locked out grid for what I'm looking at here. So I'll just let it go for a minute. Maybe my best bet might be to take an Ovechkin goal, or maybe even try to just jump on the 60-minute line once it comes out. And, if I get another goal or two, I can feel comfortable about life laying a big number. I'll still be looking to peg something here on the Caps. We'll see what the lines say on my end when they pop back open in a minute.
You might get some better numbers, Steve. I do see some updates. Looks like I don't know what the exact situation. That goal may be coming back at the moment.
That may be the case. I don't. It looks like it stands on my end. I see minus 320 for the Capitals, but now it's back off the board. So maybe you're right. Or it's under review.
It's looking like it's under review right now. I still see the one on the board, but I've got some people watching the game in a text thread. So it looks like that one's being reviewed. Oh, we got a good goal. The word comes in. All right. Okay. So good on-air stuff there for you. Right. The goal does stand.
Why are we starting so early? Why is this game starting so early? Do you know?
I don't know. That's a weird start date for them. That they don't usually start at that time. I was wondering why it was 6:30 myself. I don't know. Just one of them times, I guess.
Originally, it looked like I was going to lay minus 145 on the game line. Now I get minus 175 on the 60-minute line. The Capitals team goals now at over 3.5 minus 165. I think I just bite that extra juice and take that.
Yeah, I think that's the live play right there. All right, Steve, next game up is the Sabres and the Canadiens. This one in Montreal. A somewhat interesting game here. We'll get the goalie matchups. This game probably meaning more for Montreal as they're trying to stay alive in the playoffs, as we talked about. Sam Montembeault is going to be in goal for the Canadiens. James Reiner for Buffalo. Both of their save total over and under is going to be 23.5. Steve, short and simple with this game for me. Both of these teams proven that they can score. Buffalo lets in a lot of goals, and it seems at times so does Montreal. So I'm expecting some output here in this one, and I'm going to go over 6.5 at plus 100.
Montreal has been a team I've been liking to play. They did well in Buffalo the other day. I believe this is now a home at home, if I'm correct, Dave, right?
I believe so.
I'm going to stick with the hot hand of Montreal here. Buffalo is the worst team technically in the Eastern Conference at this point. There is a little bit of mojo going on with Montreal. So I'll stick with the Canadiens at home here. It's a cheap price. on the money line. I think that's fine. I'd rather lay that than try to get the team goals over 3.5. Although, like you said, Dave, there could be a ton of goals in this game still. So I will just favor the home team here, either way you want to dice it.
Okay, I like that. Definitely understandable. I'm kind of with you there. I just like Buffalo to help out. Steve, we have another live update. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Nets won. The Capitals are now up 2-0.
Look at that right off the bat. Just 3.5 minutes into as well, Dave. So I did take him over 3.5 here a minute ago, and that is looking way nice at this point.
Excellent. Yeah, I took a team total with them and a puck line. So let's see if the Caps can keep it up here tonight. Next game up is the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. I like this to be a fun matchup, but I'm telling you what, Steve, it's going to be hard to pick anybody else. But the Lightning in this game, Vasilevsky is in goal for the Lightning, Bobrovsky for the Panthers. Great goaltending matchup here. So don't be suckered in to an over is what I'm thinking here if you're looking at a total. But Steve, my play, again, I tried to keep things short and simple here. I like a Tampa Bay money line on the road at plus 124. If you like them on the 60, plus 190. And I'm telling you, you're getting a plus 190 number with a team like the Lightning who have won 8 in a row. That's pretty hard to ignore in my book, Steve. So that's where I'm gravitating towards here. What do you like in this one?
This is going to have to be a pass for me. Just two good teams. They have a combined 3 losses here in their last 20 games. One of those is in overtime by Florida. So they are on fire, both of them. Like you said, a good play matchup. If you could bet on penalty minutes, that would be a good angle to take in this one, Dave, I would think.
Yeah, there you go. I like that, Steve. That's a good.
Some of these offshore books have that kind of thing you can bet on. We don't have that available here, at least in Virginia. But if you can bet penalty,
no, I know I don't.
Best be assured this could be that type of game.
You know what, Steve? I love that kind of angle. You're right. It definitely could be. So I'm going to take the Lightning here, which should be a pretty entertaining game. So the next up, Steve, we have the Battle of New York tonight. The Islanders taking on the Rangers in Madison Square Garden there. Coming up in about 20 minutes or so. Steve, the goaltending matchup for this one, Shesterkin for the Rangers and Sorokin for the Islanders. So, again, another good goaltending matchup here tonight in this one. The over-under is going to be 5.5, minus 112 for the Islanders, minus 108 for the Rangers. And, Steve, if you're asking me, I took a shot here. The Islanders had a pretty successful game last time out, winning 7-4. I'm going to look for them to keep up the hot streak a little bit in the goal department. And I did take a plus number with them to score 4 goals tonight. I think right now, I think they can beat the Rangers. But we'll see, Steve. What do you think here in the Battle of New York?
The injuries I mentioned concern me with like Barzell. I mean, that's a seasoned veteran. Shesterkin is in goal. But Sorokin's been great for the Islanders. I would lean more of an under game, Dave. Okay. I just see 2.5 for the Islander goals. And I definitely think that's achievable for them on their end. The Rangers get by Nashville yesterday in a shutout. Nashville, talk about a candidate for the penalty box at this point. If we haven't thrown them in a while, they can definitely go in there. But I'm not so sure I want to write off the Rangers yet. And I'm not willing to do so tonight with the Islanders. More so than anything, this is going to be a pass for me at the end of the day. I do like the Islanders, the way that they've been playing and the way they've responded under Patrick Waugh, for sure. They were one of the better stories of the last month or so. If you haven't been paying attention, I mean, they have been a dead under team for a good portion of the season. They finally have found some offense in the last few weeks. Can they continue that tonight in Madison Square Garden? I just don't know. The Rangers are a team that are ripe for the picking with injuries and trades for sure. But I'm not willing to wager on that on the Monday night here. I get it, back-to-back here for the Rangers. But they had a relatively breezy affair, easy cakewalk there against Nashville. They won't get that tonight against the Islanders. I expect a good physical game here as well. Again, another game day, penalty minutes, maybe the right angle.
Right. Yep. I can see that definitely. And I do like the underplay. You're just kind of taking a stab there with that crazy Islanders number, which isn't really all that crazy. But I could see 3-2 in this one, something like that.
Yeah. That sounds right to me.
Yeah. Yep. So next game here is San Jose's traveling to Toronto. Toronto's on the back-to-back, but it is San Jose. So just keep that in mind. The only goaltender I see tonight is going to be Georgiev, and he's going to be in goal for the Sharks. The over-under here is 6.5 tonight, plus 280 for the Sharks on the money line. Maple Leafs minus 355, heavy favorite. So this game is not really all that appealing to me. I took a look at it. Steve, I did take a shot somewhere with San Jose over 2.5. I think it was almost plus money. You know, maybe they can show some fight and take advantage of Toronto on the back-to-back. But other than that, not a whole lot really jumps out at me in this one. Steve, you might have something better, but what do you think about San Jose and Toronto? Is this exactly a matchup that excites you?
If Toronto wasn't on the back-to-back, then and what turned out to be a somewhat tough game for them yesterday in Pittsburgh, then I think this is your lock of the day for sure. That's the thing, though. They're on the back-to-back. It's San Jose. Is there a sense that it is San Jose that maybe they kind of let their guard down a bit, maybe have a little Washington Capitals fever, seeing some of these lesser teams come into their home arena and think it's going to be a cakewalk. They still are an NHL team. They still are a professional hockey team. So you're going to have to show up and play good hockey here. I think Toronto wins. It's a big spread. And the Winnipeg line last week against San Jose, I think last Monday night, Dave, they're over minus $5 favorites. You almost have that same feeling here again with Toronto tonight.
No
San Jose,
kidding. Yeah.
San Jose's been on the road for a while too now. And Toronto, I know I've joked about this on a show before, but that is a road team's paradise with the strip clubs and stuff like that.
Right.
So a team like San Jose with their young players could be clearly outmatched in Toronto tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely seem that way, and I don't think anybody would be surprised by a Toronto winning margin of 3 or more. Well, I'll just say that. So our last game tonight, Steve, here we are, LA, that is the Kings traveling to Chicago to take on the Blackhawks. Goaltender matchup tonight is Spencer Knight. First game in action for Chicago after being traded. Darcy Kemper in goal for the Kings. We'll take a look here. Your over-under is 5.5. I kind of like the under in this one. The Kings can kind of make the game go that way. Chicago doesn't really score many goals. Again, a rebuilding team. Minus 265 for the Kings. That tells you a pretty heavy favorite there. Plus 215 on the money line for the Blackhawks. Steve, I think I like the Kings on a puck line, minus 1.5 here. Only plus 105. But I want to trust that they can take advantage of a struggling Chicago team. Young guys, now trades are being, put into the mix. So a team like LA, they need to come in, assert the dominance a little bit and really take control of this game. I think they can do that. So, Steve, I think I'll take a -1.5 flyer here.
You know what? I mean, what's your recipe to get well on the road when you've had a couple of tough outings in Dallas and St. Louis, and that's a short trip to Chicago, and get an easy win here. If the Kings are to bounce back on this bad losing streak, it has to be tonight. So I think anything you want to do with the Kings is fair game. They've had a night of rest. Now this is their 4th game in 3 nights still, so that's a little scary. On that front. But I think that they get the job done on the road here in Chicago. So I think you can probably lay the 1.5 if you like. I wouldn't stretch it past that.
No. I wouldn't say I'm comfortable. Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I couldn't agree more. Don't push your luck in that regard. All right, Steve, that is the slate for the evening. I guess we need to throw somebody in the penalty box, check out a couple goal scorers, and then we'll get out of here for the 7 o'clock puck drops.
Yeah, let's go to futures too, Dave, real quick.
Okay, all right.
You want to do that at the end? Here, let's cue up the referees.
Switch 7 guys. Mike, come on. You can't do that. That was probably number 10. 2 minutes broken. I got 82. Tampa, tripping.
All right, Steve, who you got? You gonna throw
I'll throw Nashville. Yeah, let's throw Nashville in there. I mentioned them earlier. They've been a bad team. They haven't scored in what seems like centuries, Dave.
Right. I'm gonna throw in Buffalo for the evening. They've lost a couple games there in their last 5 or 10 games or so. Again, a team that can score, but man, Steve, they just can't keep them out of their own net. Night in, night out, that seems to be the issue with them. So on into the penalty box they go. All right, you want to touch on the futures and then do the goal score?
We got a Capital suspended again. What happened here?
Yep, looking. Something's going on.
Right before I'm getting ready to make another bet on him as well.
Nothing. Yep. Oh, they're back on the board. Doesn't look like no goals
Nothing
or
happened.
anything.
Okay.
Nothing.
All right. 10-4. What do you got for a goal score, Dave?
All right, goal scores tonight. I'm gonna go with Braden Point from Tampa Bay. He has been on fire for them, man. He has been very, very much a big part of their success down there in Tampa. So if we're looking at him for a goal scorer, plus 175, he is the favorite in that game. But again, Steve, when you got somebody who is playing such a key role for a team that's so hot, I mean, he could definitely keep the points going. So give me a Braden Point goal tonight.
Oh, I like that. It's Braden Point. What's he paying off?
Plus 175.
All right, let's see here. I'm going to avoid this one. I'm going to give you a goal scorer from this Montreal Buffalo game. And I'll give
like
you
that.
Someone I've been to the well on a few times here. But let's go ahead and take my man Nick Suzuki at plus 210 for a goal. And if I can throw one more at you, I will. We'll go ahead and because consistency is key here for Toronto as far as them being able to pour goals into the back of the net. And why not John Tavares at plus 180?
Yeah, there you go. That would be a good little parlay right there. Point, Suzuki, and Tavares.
Yeah.
I like that little three-gamer right there.
Can we do that with Ovechkin? Maybe we can. Let me see what that pays off.
Yeah, throw him in there.
Because Ovechkin's on the live line now.
Yep,
and,
11 goals to pass Gretzky now, 10 to tie.
Yep, and might as well throw him in the grade 8. We'll get we're 11 minutes in, so we'll get a better price than we did at face-off here. Plus 130.
Oh, definitely.
Why not? $3 to win $56.89. I'll go El Cheapo on this. John Tavares, Nick Suzuki, and Alexander Ovechkin. Why not?
All right, I like it. Good little scores parlay there. All right, Steve, we'll touch here on the futures.
Yeah, because there's one in particular I want to
Divisional.
look at.
Okay, divisional, the Atlantic Division, Maple Leafs -110, the Panthers +175. Give me the Lightning right now at +390 to win that division. If they keep playing like that, they certainly can. The Senators and the Red Wings and the Bruins, yeah, you're probably not going to get me to buy in on that. So, Steve, give me the Lightning in that regard.
I think everything holds the way I see it right now, to be honest. I can't see the Capitals still losing that division, especially after they come out here tonight. Obviously, the most interesting one is the Atlantic with Toronto, Florida, and Tampa. And you have every reason in the world to take Tampa. I still think the Kings can crawl up maybe and win that Pacific at +650. I'm not necessarily going to buy into that myself. They are 8 points back. That seems like a decent amount here with over 20 games to play, but not insurmountable. But I'll pass for now. Maybe we get a little bit better number, 6 points away here in about 5 or 6 or 7, 8 games down the road. But I'll look at this conference stuff, Dave, and reel off some numbers for me. All there. Right. What do you got?
In the East, we have the Panthers 4-1 to win the East. Same as Carolina right now. Capitals are 6-1, right there tied with the Leafs as well. Devils also 6-1. Tampa +650. Then you have a team like the Senators 25-1, 18-1 for the Rangers, and 50-1 for both the Wings and the Jackets. I like the
That's
Caps
it, Dave.
I mean,
we missed the boat. The Jackets were 110-1 yesterday.
Oh, absolutely, Steve. I mean,
so they've been chopped in half here, and I was contemplating putting a big bet down on that, and that I still may at 60-1, but that hurts a little bit seeing that because I really want that big number to stick around. They're on to the Jackets now. All it took was that outdoor game for everyone to watch on TV on Saturday, and probably had a bunch of people buying on them because they are a fun success story.
Oh, absolutely.
They have God on their side. I do have a little bit of futures tied up in them already, but I really wanted to take them individually at a big price, and I've been beaten to the punch here yet again.
All right, into the West, we have the Edmonton Oilers favored right now at +320. Goaltending and defense make me weary of that, so I don't really like that. The Stars +370. The Jets 5-1 to win the West. The Knights 6-1. Colorado 7-1. Kings +750. A nice 13-1 price on Minnesota, and then you have the Canucks at 30-1. Utah Hockey Club 75-1. As well as St. Louis 75-1. Anything past that, I think you're really pushing it. So, Steve, interesting stuff there in the West. The Jets 5-1 is never bad. But I think I'm going to have to side with you. If I know you're going to take somebody. How about Dallas at +370?
I see them at +410. But they are dropping from what I saw last week as well. So they are on the decline. I'm trying to figure out the teams going in the wrong direction, which are boosting these odds up. And it has to be some of these bottom feeders. Obviously, in the East, it has to be Boston, who's now 65-1 to win the East. How about that? That's how bad they've fallen off. Man, the Columbus one upsets me. I almost want to cry.
Yep. We definitely should have been on that one. But still a decent number for him now.
No, instead of putting $100 down to win 10,000, I'm going to have to put down 200 to win 10,000.
Well, yeah.
So it's going to cost me extra $100 to try to hit that big jackpot. I'm rooting for the Capitals to do it. I can't put it past the Jackets are good. They're as
Yeah.
live as anybody, Dave. In that,
I agree.
right.
I absolutely agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens if they can get in to the tournament this year.
The good thing about
definitely
them
be
too is
keeping an eye
they
on that. Maybe throw them all with the Celtics or something.
Yeah, they went exactly. That's the good way to do it. Is now you would parlay in with the Celtics to boost that number up. They win close games. They win in overtime. They are clutch when they have to have it. They get it. You just got to like the mentality that they play with.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. We will definitely be keeping an eye on them. All right, so that's the slate. We've got some teams in the penalty box. We've got some goal scorers. We've got some decent angles here for a Monday night. So, Steve, before we get out of here, any programming notes?
Yeah, we'll do what the puck is going on Thursday. We'll do a bet to the future on Thursday as well. And we'll also go ahead and do a Sizzling podcast on Wednesday, 12:30. So pay attention for what the puck, 6 p.m. on Thursday night. We'll probably linger into the 7 o'clock hour with Bet to the Future. Still don't have a firm exact day for that. But we have March Madness coming, and that will start in its wholeheartedness 2 weeks from this Thursday. So we would be smart to do it on a Tuesday night next week, and then continue on from there. But for this week's purposes, we'll stick to Thursday just because it's a tricky week for me overall.
All right, sounds good. So definitely some good content to come this week. All right, from us at What the Puck is Going On. If you've got any picks, good luck, and we will see you Thursday.
Yep, good luck.
What the puck is going on?